Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Pop Go the Writers. This is our PBS version, as we're going to spend the whole time talking like we're announcing a golf game. Joining me tonight is Paul Storrie, writer. Say hello, Paul.
Hello, Paul.
All right, even I can't keep that up for too long.
That's what she said. Yeah, I don't know.
Why would she say that?
She said you could. Never mind.
Oh, okay. And who is she? Because I haven't seen your mom in years.
On to the show.
Okay. All righty, folks. Welcome to another episode of Pop Go the Writers. This is, believe it or not, our 15th episode. Not counting the classic TV special, which we're going to be doing a second one of. See the nice segue there? Next Sunday, Paul's going to get the night off. He doesn't know this yet, but Paul will be getting the night off next Sunday. And I will be joined once again by Natasha, as we'll be talking the second season of Mannix. And we'll also kind of update on the books that she decided to start writing, which is, I think it's morphing from being a Mike Connors biography to a show or a book about the show itself, as she has some access to some interesting possible interviews. But we'll get caught up.
Jacket, Mannix story.
Yes. We've started counting the number of times that he loses his gun, which is regular.
Yeah.
The different cars he gets to drive, which is a lot. And the number of times that he gets hit or knocked out. And we're thinking that's in the 50 range, at least according to some sites. But that seems low, as I'm pretty sure that's just season one.
It is one of those things where you know, by the time you're in season 2, you're like, how can he do math after getting hit on the head?
Oh, yeah.
Knock him out that many times.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he definitely has CTE.
Yeah.
You know, football players will look at him going, damn, dude. Oh, man. Yeah, he gets knocked out so often. Anytime they actually back the camera up just a little bit and he's like looking at something and we're seeing space behind him, it's, oh, God, he's going to get knocked out.
He's going to, yeah. Well, it is a genre trope.
It is. And this show, in a lot of ways, created a lot of those tropes. You know.
Well, Sam Spade and Philip Marlowe got hit on the back of the head a lot, though.
Yes.
So,
but there's a lot of things.
But
there's a lot of things that classic TV shows do that started with Mannix.
Yeah.
There was things in the first season. It's like, oh yeah, these are things that the shows would do later on when ratings were bad, and these guys were putting them all out in season 1.
Yeah, they started jumping the shark.
Oh yeah. I mean, they bred the shark first. You know?
Of course, didn't. Now we're off on Mannix, but in the first season, the one where he works for the big company, and then they kind of went.
Intertech.
Yeah, and then they
the show was actually going to be called Intertech at first, and the network didn't like it because it was so based around that. And they do the whole first season with him working at Intertech and dealing with the big computers and stuff. And then season 2 opens, and he's got himself a private office and his secretary Peggy, played by Gail Fisher, and the only time that Intertech is even mentioned is in the 3rd episode of the season. She goes to Intertech to get some computer information, and he yells at her for it.
Yikes.
Or scolds her. I don't want to say yell. He doesn't really yell, but he scolds her for doing that because, you know, and then there's a comment about Wickersham and how, you know, basically they're not allowed to do things for Mannix anymore. It's like, okay, so they had a bad falling out, but and that's it.
And steam.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't even get him. And then the actor who played his boss comes back in one of the later seasons as a completely different character.
Yeah. Well, that's so funny with a lot of long running shows. You end up with people coming back as different characters, and you're like, didn't wait one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Happened a lot in most of the if the show went 5 seasons.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a couple actors I've seen multiple times already in 2 seasons. But I've been well, and it also helps. I found I do have something called Me TV, Memorable Entertainment Television, which is this network that is how my friend Natasha found Mannix in the first place. And they air it at 2 a.m. in the morning. And I've caught a few of them because I don't sleep well at night. And they go into the next show on is Canon with William Conrad. And I watched the opening credits for Canon, and I thought, whose idea were these? Because if you remember the show Canon, there are all these little circles that get played over and over, but they're all like extreme close-ups of body parts of his. But it's like his ear, his chin, the roll at the back of his neck, his like left shoulder, and it's like,
well, those are all the bionic parts.
yeah, it's like, who thought this was a good idea? So yeah, if you get a chance, you can also find it on YouTube. Check out the opening credits from Canon, and it's absolutely ridiculous. You know, it's like somebody doesn't like William Conrad, is what I'm guessing here.
Well, it is also kind of funny because it was like Canon was like Jake and the Fat Man when Canon got too heavy.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, now I got to have somebody to go around for me.
Yes. He went from being Sam Spade to Nero Wolfe.
Yeah, yeah, it really did.
Yeah.
It was unusual. This is far off our patch.
It is, but it's still pop culture. It's just
still
very
pop culture.
old pop culture.
Yes. I'm still wondering when the private detective show is going to come back. Because it's really, everything's cop procedurals now.
Yeah, and even the ones that we do get, like the Magnum PI.
I keep forgetting that one.
Yeah, that still, there's this special forces feel to it, and
yeah,
you know, right. We don't get the straight detective series anymore.
Although we got an excellent detective series based on a comic book, Stumptown,
and that got canceled.
Season. Yeah.
Yep.
I was very disappointed in that. A good cast, good writing.
Yeah.
You know, Greg Rucka and company were probably making some money off of it. So of course it doesn't last.
Yep.
It's a crying shame. I actually like private detective shows better than cop shows.
No, I agree.
Shows, they you know, some of them come across as like propaganda almost.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of them, it's just like, no, you're a cop. You should know better than to go like, oh, here, I'm going to stick my hand into the evidence. Or, you know, they go into a place without gloves on. I'm like, look, I know it's a TV show. But when you don't put on gloves to examine a crime scene, and then you go and get exclusionary prints from your suspects, you know, this causes friction in my brain.
Yeah.
And then I end up like Ghost Rider. So. Or Madeline Kahn in Clue. Flames. Yeah.
Well, speaking of modern shows, I did try to watch the first episode of Jupiter's Legacy.
Uh-huh.
That is bad.
I thought the effects were good. I thought that I liked the costumes. I thought the stunt work, you know, was good. I was not a fan. Um, and because it might have come up, I watched the whole thing. But now I that is wasted because you didn't like it enough that we'll be talking about it.
I'm gonna try to get back into it because so many people are telling me they like it, and I've only been able to sit through 20 minutes of it. But in that 20 minutes, we see Josh, whatever Duhamel or whatever his name is,
Yeah,
in
Josh
three
Bell,
different ages.
the sauce.
We see three different ages of him,
Yep.
and he looks exactly the same in all three, except for a bad wig.
I think that's intentional, though. The idea is that his aging process is slowed.
No, it looks like that the only thing that as he ages, he forgets what the hell shampoo is.
Well, I think what they're trying to do there, and this is one of those. This is what I think, but I don't feel it came through in the show. I get the feeling that the longer he's active, the harsher the world gets and the less time he has. Kind of like the first issue of Kurt Busiek's Astro City, where
Uh-huh.
Samaritan is almost on call 24/7. And I think that's what they're trying for. But it may just be that, like most superhero and science fiction and fantasy fans, we have this real tendency to no prize stuff, which is the old Marvel Comics thing where if you wrote
Yeah.
in for an explanation of a mistake, they sent you an envelope with nothing in it. And the envelope would say, enclosed, find your no prize. So I think that we do that compulsively.
Well, yeah, I wanted to like it. I saw Leslie Bibb walk in and is supposed to be older, and it looked like she just had platinum hair. She didn't look any
Yeah.
older.
Well, and again, I think what they were trying to do is suggest a slowed aging process, but that some aging is taking place.
So their hair color changes, but their faces look exactly the same.
Well, not exactly. If you compare, there are a few more. They do. Certainly they did not do aging makeup like Captain America: The Winter Soldier did on Carl Lumley.
Right.
But
And I don't know why they did it on Lumley. He's not that young in the first place. And they didn't do flashbacks.
yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know. Long story short, you did not enjoy it.
I did not. I got about 20 minutes in. I got into the dinner table scene where the daughter shows up just blasted out of her mind.
Yeah.
And I realized that I didn't care enough about any of these people to watch them go through a painful family dinner.
The weird part is, after I watched it, I read the first 5-issue collected edition. In the collected edition, it's the son that's kind of the daughter's got similar problems, but it's the son who is just like rejected heroing. He just hangs out with his super buddies or super friends, you might call them, and hangs out in the clubs and stuff. Like
Yeah.
she does have kind of a party girl aspect to her, but he's the one that's gone like, this is nothing. So I thought it was weird. I think in the comic they were saying both the kids were turning, moving away from it, as opposed to just the one.
Well, I guess one of my problems had to do with the fact that we get that opening scene with bad guys, and you've got these three guys with guns and gorilla or monkey masks or
Yeah.
different simians. And instead of the son showing up, showing his power off and getting to see him in action, a bad guy shows up, takes them out, and then kicks the son's ass.
Yeah.
So we didn't actually get to establish that he's any kind of hero in the first place. We just immediately see him getting his ass kicked.
Yeah. Which I did not quite understand the character that beat him up did not seem that formidable or
Yeah.
formidable, depending on how you want to say it. So to me that was a little weird. Compared to stuff we saw later, and unless we were supposed to deduce that he was holding back from using his full power so as not to hurt people.
Yeah.
Because that later on becomes a thing. That part of, I don't know if you saw any references to the code, but the code is we don't take charge, we don't kill, and something
Yeah,
else.
there's that opening scene where the little girl uses her powers because she said she shot the guy with her eye lasers.
Yeah.
And he said, no, you didn't. And then she uses her powers on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
But it's one of these things where I feel like, there's trusting your audience to be smart. And then there's not actually conveying information that you should.
Yeah, agreed.
And but I am reminded, and well, now I'll save this line for when we're talking about Venom, because there's a line that ties together for me. So
okay, then I will ask you this, and then we'll move on.
Yep.
Should I go back and try to watch more of it?
There was some kind of interesting stuff when they did flashback to the 20s, late 20s, early 30s.
Besides the brother knowing that the stock market crash is coming and nobody would listen to him?
Yes. It's funny that's not two shows I watched recently. I've just finished Babylon Berlin, the German show that's on Netflix, and in there's a guy who is predicting the stock market collapse, and everybody goes, "No, you're silly. What are you talking about?" And then, of course, the stock market collapsed.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's not ahistorical in that I believe there were people going, this can't keep going. Sort of like the housing bubble of 2008, where everybody were like, this can't keep going up. Sure, it can crash, huh?
Yeah. Yep. All right. Okay, so let's move on to topic
maybe,
number.
By the way,
What?
You should go back.
Definite
maybe.
All right. I may at least try to finish the first episode. I hear there's some kind of plot twist that happens that might be worth seeing. So,
yeah.
I just couldn't get into it when I sat down to watch it. It was like, to me, bad costumes, bad makeup, bad acting. It's like, I could watch the CW and see better.
Yeah. Possibly so.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the trailer that dropped earlier in the week. Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Now, I remember watching the movie the first time and rather liking it, not loving it, but liking it, thinking that it fit well on the lower end of the MCU schedule or the list of films, even though it's not an MCU film. I thought that it fell well within like Captain Marvel, above Thor: The Dark World, probably around like the Incredible Hulk, which I don't hate any of those movies.
See, I would have ranked it more as Elektra.
Oh, ouch. Even I don't like Elektra, and I give a lot of, I forgive a lot when it comes to hero movies because I'm getting to see my heroes on the screen. But Elektra and Catwoman, man, that's pretty much the bottom of the barrel. And if you're down there,
well, so you didn't like it? I did not like. You know what? I never liked the character.
Okay, one strike against him.
Yeah. I just got sad when I realized you had two, like was it an Oscar winner and an Oscar nominee
Mhm.
in that movie where I'm just like, oh, Michelle Williams, no, run away. Um,
Yeah, didn't
and
Tom Hardy get nominated?
yeah, I think so. That's
Well, then
that.
Riz Ahmed is also.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there was a lot of top talent in that movie.
There was.
Uh, uh, there was a swirl of black slime, but it also does not help that every time, because they made a big point in the trailers for the first one to show that we are Venom, and all I can hear when I hear that is "We are Venom." Bum ba dum bum 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 bum. Literally every time I saw it in the back of my head, it was "We are Venom." Bum ba dum bum 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 bum. And then I'm like tying it in with J. Jonah Jameson doing the commercials. Um, I watched Venom for the first time in preparation for this show.
Ah, well, you're a giver. I see that.
I try and pay my dues,
Yeah.
as the co-host ish. Um, I don't put in as much work as you do, Dan, but
Wait, I'm supposed to work on this?
you seem to, whether you are supposed to or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watch it. I don't like. Oh, it's I don't like villain heroes. I don't even call Venom an anti-hero. He
Okay.
seems like a villain hero to me. When I don't find it particularly funny that it's like Eddie has to keep going, don't eat people. Well, maybe bad people, but no good people. Um, it just didn't it Here's the line that I was reminded of. The Comic Buyer's Guide, uh, long founding editor until he passed in, I think, 98. um uh Don Thompson used to have a review column, and when he did not really particularly like something, he said, this isn't for me, but if this is the sort of thing you like, you'll like this. And that's how I feel about Venom. Is this is not the sort of thing I like, but if this is the sort of thing you like, then you'll like it.
Okay. See, I looked at him as kind of like the superhero version or the superpowered version of Dexter, which is he's going to kill people, and Eddie's presenting a code for him. Just like Dexter had a code, the code of what was his dad's name?
Hammurabi?
What?
I don't know. I've watched one episode of Dexter. Guess whose body was in it? Exactly. This is how much I love you, Dan. I've watched your episode.
So you've watched as many episodes of Dexter that I've been in.
Yes, exactly. Well, okay, I watched it for tone, but
Yeah, fair enough. Everybody watched it for tone.
I did it for both of you.
What's funny is that his scene got cut down so much
Yeah.
because there was supposed to be a whole thing of him being booked that never got put in.
Yeah.
So,
But we saw lots of his artwork.
yep.
Oh.
Actually, what's funny is Tone called me up that one day and asked me to help him make a dream come true. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, I want to kill you. I'm like, excuse me? He's like, no, I want to kill you. I went, I'm going to need more explanation on this. And then eventually he told me, hey, my buddy met us, thought we should try, that we're probably going to kill each other at some point, decided to write into an extra episode of Dexter, and now they want us to play ourselves.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Did
So
you get your SAG card out of that?
I did not. Sadly I did not, but I did get extra money for having to be in makeup to show my head caved in.
Right.
So I think I actually got a bigger payday than Tone, and Tone got to choose which of the two people he got to be.
And
So
he wanted to see your body on the ground.
He wanted to be the one that killed me. And I spent the day hanging out on set with Michael C. Hall and the guy that plays Dokes and LaGuardia, and was sitting in the makeup chair with them, them next to me. LaGuardia offered to get me breakfast while I was in the chair.
Wow.
Just an amazing day. Tone
Yeah.
showed up late at night, hung out with the extras, and it was like, you picked the wrong one.
Yeah. So when you were talking to Michael C. Hall, did you make a lot of Breakfast Club jokes?
Why would I make breakfast?
He played the nerd in Breakfast Club.
Did I say Michael? What did I say the actor's name wrong?
No, I was just pulling your leg there. I was, of course, talking about Anthony Michael Hall, who is not the same as Michael C. Hall.
No, don't mess with me like that, man. I've been on the air way too much this week.
I was sure you would just be like, that's Anthony Michael Hall, but not so much. Sorry about that.
Did I get his name wrong?
Yeah.
But
I really need to use the private chat more. Like label stuff. Joke. So
no, actually, I watched him mess with his assistant quite a bit, and he was funny as hell. And then he walked on set, and they said action, and his face went and scared the hell out of me because he gets that extra look, and it's like.
Now, did you meet Julie Benz at all?
Did not. She was not on set that day.
I
shouldn't have actually met Dokes because I don't think he was actually in the scene or he might have been in the very beginning of the scene. But otherwise, it was just LaGuardia and Dexter standing over my dead body. Yeah. My favorite moment, though, was I'm laying there on the ground. Two favorite moments. And the director, who is the guy who played the kid in Christine, was the director of it, or the main star of Christine. He's directing it, and he's like, I need to get his head raised up a little bit. Can we pick any of these comics and put it under his head? And they're all like, I don't know which ones are valuable and stuff. And I just kind of looked up and I went, there's a Silver Surfer's Essential there. It's a black and white reprint. We can use that. And we can use that one. And next, so my expertise came in handy as a dead body.
I was going to say, you should have gotten a consultant fee.
And then as we're shooting, they stop for a second, and the director leans down and goes, you okay? I went, yeah, why? He says, because you were lying as still as an actual dead body. And I just wanted to make sure. I'm like, method acting. He goes, love it.
Yeah. You were like, I was just trying to make up for all the people who breathe while they're dead on TV.
Yep, I was trying very hard not to breathe and just hold it through the scenes.
Yep.
So, yeah, we're definitely sliding off topic. Okay, so back to Venom.
Well, Venom 2, The Wrath of Electric Boogaloo. Ultimate.
I liked Venom well enough. I rewatched it this week. Because, wanted to talk about it. Did a whole show on it on the Dan Wickline show.
Which, as Dan mentioned, that he's got his own show on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. Tuesday and Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, or 5 p.m. Eastern. Yep. And then on Thursday, it's 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, over on the Comic Book Shopping Experience.
And that is why Dan has the Johnny Carson part, and I have the Ed McMahon part, because I don't have shows.
Yeah, I may have to start bringing you over to that show, too.
So somebody's going like...
I've got a little producer guy that every once in a while, and they've changed it on me. All three shows, I had a different person. So the first night I had Kyle, who's the guy I do another show with. So I just would say, Kyle, how much time do I got left? Whatever. The next night I said, Kyle, and he goes, nope, you got to substitute Kyle tonight. I went, okay, substitute Kyle. And then spent the whole night referring to him as substitute Kyle. So I rewatched Venom. And to me, the comedic bits worked. I thought Tom Hardy technically playing off of himself because he does the voice of Venom as well.
Yeah.
I thought that those were pretty funny. I thought the action scenes were good until the ending. I don't know why they decided to put him up against Riot of all the possible symbiotes. You've got all these different symbiotes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm going to put a spoiler up for a couple-year-old show now.
Yeah.
But you've got all these symbiotes that they could choose from, and they pick the one that is dark gray and head is like a football, tilted football, like ready to be kicked.
Yeah.
And they put him in a nighttime fight scene with an all-black Venom.
Yep.
They had a yellow one. They had a blue one. They went with the dark gray one.
See, and I didn't know. I assumed when they gave it a name that it must be one from the comics. But the only symbiotes I know from the comics are Venom and Carnage.
Oh, there's Venom and Carnage, and there's Toxin. And you know the cop character that's like angrily folding up the paper, and we see him a couple times in there?
Yeah.
I believe that character becomes Toxin, which is Carnage's offspring. Then there's Scream, and there's Riot, and there's...
Eventually there's Anti-Venom.
Yeah.
There's I did know about Scream, but only through weird and convoluted ways. But like the only ones, if you said, what are the Marvel symbiotes, I would have gone like, oh, it's Venom and Carnage.
Yep. But no, there's a whole line of them. And but in the movie, we saw a yellow one and a blue one.
Yep.
And either of those would have been a better contrast.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And the
also, you don't need to do a space shot at night.
Right.
You know, mostly they don't.
Yep. But he was rushing them to do it, so sure. It wasn't a planned space shot. But the fact is also when the ship crashes and one of them gets out, one of the symbiotes gets out, he then body hops all the way to the exact place where the other ones were going. So none of that stuff was necessary. They could have just left him as part of it and somehow got out at one point and attacked the main Drake.
Yeah.
So there was this whole subplot of this symbiote traveling to San Francisco that wasn't necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it did eat up time. Because
it did. It absolutely did. And we got to see it in use. So yeah, but
yeah.
It's not a great movie, but to me, it's one of those mindless entertainment. It's the low end of Marvel. It might be now that I think about it, it might be a little lower, like just the bottom of the Marvel level.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that bringing in Andy Serkis is going to fix that up a little bit too. They didn't bring back the same director.
Oh, Serkis is directing it?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Well, he does know. He's actually an excellent actor. In addition to knowing a hell of a lot about mocap.
Yes.
So I think his expertise will help a lot with that. Did you find that the Venom 2 trailer though was full of almost no information whatsoever?
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't call it a teaser. They called it a trailer, which I thought was a little weird.
But what information would you want?
I don't know. Some idea about a story, like a sense of other than, oh, well, Carnage is going to be Carnage and Venom's going to be Venom. Is kind of how it felt to me. Like,
well, and there's religious iconography.
Okay.
And there's that Naomi Harris is playing Shriek.
Ah, okay. See, and so, I don't know from Shriek, so it doesn't click.
Shriek is an old Spider-Man villain that has sonic powers.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But I mean, in other words, I don't really know anything about the character, so it didn't click with me that
Yeah.
indication she was playing
Yeah,
that
this
character.
is definitely for people that are familiar with if you're familiar with the Carnage storylines, then you look at this and go, "Oh my God, it's got Shriek in it, who's this girl that he's always had a thing with," and they team up together. And oh, this is probably setting up Maximum Carnage, which is the big Carnage storyline. And there's a religious iconography that shows up at one point, and that's part of them. So if you are a Carnage fan, this is exactly the type of trailer you'd want because it hints at all the things that that you think about. But if you're not a Carnage fan, you're looking at this going, "Why is Woody Harrelson acting so strange?"
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, I know who Carnage is, but it still just seemed very kind of there was nothing in it that made me as a reluctant potential viewer want to watch it. You know, and that's I think that that's a good thing for a trailer is to get people who wouldn't normally want to watch it to watch it.
Yeah, I think we'll get another trailer before, but I mean, this thing's not coming out till September,
Yeah, yeah,
so they don't want to give too much away early. That then all these people with these YouTube shows can pick it apart and get to the whole plot.
yeah.
So they tease it in the first one, then later on when it gets closer, is the way I look at it.
Yeah. Well, you are the expert
He can, but
with your YouTube. Wait, well, your StreamYard / Facebook Live / YouTube show.
I'm not necessarily a big Carnage fan. I've never really gotten into the character.
Mhm.
I'm not a huge Venom fan, so I didn't think they needed to bring him into Spider-Man 3 back with Tobey Maguire.
And
That
see, and
said,
I forget that they did that.
yeah,
That's how much he. Yeah, I forgot
but
us
yeah,
oily Peter Parker.
I did like Tom Hardy's performance enough, and Michelle Williams and Riz
Yeah,
Ahmed
Ahmed.
performance well enough that I enjoyed the first movie,
Yeah,
and we'll definitely watch the second one. But I'm not going in expecting this brilliant movie. I'm expecting about the
oh no,
same level that
yeah,
it'll be mindless entertainment for an hour and a half.
yeah. I think part of my problem was that I very much didn't like Eddie Brock. Not just that, not because he literally went through his girlfriend's email
Yeah.
and then was like, why? Why are you so angry? You betrayed her trust.
Cost her job. Yeah.
Yeah, cost her job.
Yeah.
It seemed kind of weird that he was like, but
Mhm.
why? Because obviously my crappy reporting job is more important than your lawyer job.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a bit of a redemption story for both Eddie and for Venom, who are both losers, according to Venom.
Yes.
And
Um,
I think that they're not heroes by the end of it, but they are at least going to work with a code and try to do some good.
yeah.
So where that goes in the next movie should be interesting.
It did kind of it does kind of, and I'll say too, I'm not a big fan of the abandonment of secret identities. So like when uh I want to say Tom, but when Eddie walks in and he's like, "Hi, corner store
Mrs. Chen.
lady, Miss Chen," and then Venom is like, um, "Oh, me want cookie." Um,
Damn it, man. That's going to stick.
But yeah, that's like Venom popping up from behind him, like and speaking Mandarin to her.
Yeah.
Or well, I don't know that he might have been speaking Cantonese. Um,
All I
and
know is
knowing,
that Tom doesn't speak it, so he says hi.
yeah, but I just interesting. I was talking about having just watched historical shows. I just watched Peaky Blinders, which Tom Hardy was in.
Mhm.
So that was an added weirdness to me. It's like,
Oh, I bet.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
I,
like that. I'm looking forward to the sequel just to see what it's like,
yep,
and I'm looking forward to Morbius, which will be kind of a part of that
I,
universe as well.
I would have been looking more forward to Morbius if it hadn't been, if it wasn't Jared Leto. Who,
I don't care. I don't
yeah,
have
well,
a,
that's
a,
certainly
a
your prerogative as
yeah. I don't
Bobby.
have a love or a hate for Jared Leto.
Yeah, I just think he's a creep from what I read. And I try and I don't it's impossible to avoid everything done by creeps.
Hmm.
But yeah. And to be honest, I'm not all that impressed by most of the Sony stuff. The
Yeah.
Sony solo stuff. Um but anyway, that's I'll be interested. I'll be interested to see Morbius somewhere down the line. Just because I do like the character.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'll be
Plus, it's going
curious.
to have Matt Smith.
Cool. Is he going to wear a fez?
I don't know. That may be a one thing for doctors only. So.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to subject number 2. Let's talk about the Bad Batch.
Let us talk about
Episode 3.
which is actually something like episode 6,
Because of how long the first one was?
because the whole first one was basically 3 episodes.
Right, so it'd be episode 5, but yeah, I get it.
Oh, good point. Yes.
Yeah.
See, math.
I'm going to let you talk about it first.
This is because you don't enjoy the Bad Batch as much as I do. And I thought it was okay. These are quick serialized stories. They only have about 20 minutes. So you can't expect, cinematic greatness from every episode. Um, I think I'm trying to remember the the one thing that I did notice was later, about halfway through, I think they had the crash landing, and afterwards Wrecker is talking about how much his head hurts.
Yeah.
And I think this is foreshadowing that his chip is starting to give him trouble. Um, and,
Yep, that's pretty common. Yeah, a lot of
yeah,
people are thinking that.
yeah, and Wrecker would be a particularly bad person to, you know, go chip crazy, um, as he does lots and lots of damage. Um,
Right.
so that'd be interesting. I thought it felt a little weird. Um, well, and also it came right at the same time that Tech was talking about uh, he was developing a scanner to make sure that
Yeah.
the chips weren't doing that. So that's kind of going along. I think it'll be. I hope they don't wait too long to answer the question of what makes Omega special. Um, and I do hope it's something. I'm all for girl power, but I'm just hoping it's more than. Well, yeah, but she's female. Um,
You
you
mean
know,
Omega? Omega. Omega.
Omega, Omega,
Omega.
um, old Mego. Um,
That's right.
but yeah, I mean, and it bothered me that at one point she sets down her gun to pick up something else when she's in the dragon's den. Kind of bugged me.
Yeah.
But she's a kid and she hasn't had training, so I give that a pass. I have a harder time with the fact that Tech was putting the capacitor in and then didn't bother to cover it back up. Didn't put the cover back on because that's his specialty, tech.
Yeah.
On the whole, I liked it. I thought it was a nice episode. I didn't think it was groundbreaking or shattering, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting to see Crosshair dealing with the human would-be stormtroopers. So, and then of course there's they ended up with the heartfelt aw moment with Omega getting her own bunk.
Yes.
So yeah. So I all overall it didn't like send me to the moon, but I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll pass you the flamethrower.
I think part of the problem for me is that we're coming off of Mandalorian and then WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, which set the bar here that are pretty much these event series.
Yeah.
This isn't an event series. This is another season of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, it and I don't necessarily mean it in terms of quality, but it's sort of like Scrubs season 10, where it's like it's not the Clone Wars, but it's the Clone Wars.
Yeah. Because the first episode to me could have been part of an event series. They could have done 4, 5, 6 episodes like that one that told the big story that they're trying to tell for the season, but they're not. They're doing 14 episodes. They're doing them at 28 minutes each, 31 minutes each. And you're getting these filler episodes, but you're getting filler episodes in episodes 2 and 3. Because what did we learn in the first one? Well, the whole first one was basically to tell us that the Empire is changing everything and you need like a social security number now. You need your chain code. And that Omega is something special, as are the rest of them. And then episode 2, it's just kind of reinforcing that she's supposed to be part of the team. But did we need 2 full episodes for that? And what we're learning is, I've seen it kind of split online. A lot of people seem to think that she is going to turn out to be a Force sensitive. And that's the last thing I'd want. Because not everything needs to be about the Force in Star Wars. There's so many other aspects they could play with.
You're mistaken, Dan. It is all
no,
about
I'm
the
not.
Force.
No, I'm not. And I mean, we've already right now. It's coming across a lot like it's Mandalorian season 1. They get this child like with him, and now they're adjusting to life with the child, and they already tried to give him away once, and now he's getting used to taking care of him. It's like, does Dave Filoni only have the one trick? Is that what we're seeing here? I don't think it is. So why is it like he's doing it all again? It feels like we're getting this just continuation of the Clone Wars in where an event series is supposed to be. We're going to get Loki starting in June, but it's going to be on Wednesdays. So normally that should be Fridays. This is taking its place, but it's not an event series. It's not these live action shows that we're getting from Marvel and Star Wars in this time slot. We're getting this week, this basically just an average TV series, because these are like filler episodes. And the fact that it's 14 episodes long, I don't see a story so far that justifies doing that long of a season.
Mm.
It's just another season of the Clone Wars with a different title.
Which I think that's interesting. Of course, the last season of the Clone Wars was 3 or 4 episodes to introduce the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like I say, I'm enjoying it, but I also eventually got on the Clone Wars train.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in this case, it's definitely aimed at the fans who love who they're trying to get the fans of the Clone Wars back for this. I think that's where they're aiming. Yeah, I don't find it. I mean, I think it's too early to totally dismiss them as filler, because I think that the Clone Wars had a tendency to seed stuff throughout and then pay off later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see where you're going. But yeah, I think for somebody who was a big fan of the Clone Wars, they're probably fairly happy with the what's going on.
And
But
I'm
you
not
don't
saying
think,
they should be,
yeah,
but this definitely feels like one of those series where it's like, look, we're going to introduce a child and then they're going to be the special one. And by the end of the season, they're the one that's going to fix everything. And this is, how important
what?
the child is. It's like, it's a child.
Well, I was going to say in a Star Wars show,
Yeah. It's
it has
just,
been pretty consistent. They were looking for the chosen one, even when they didn't call Luke the chosen one. He
yeah.
was, yeah.
It's like,
So
can we do something different? Can we do a series about a Trandoshan pacifist? Or
Gesundheit,
what?
Gesundheit. You said Trandoshan pacifist.
Mm-hmm. Can we do? I mean, something different, something, just
I'll be
yeah,
honest. I would over the Bad Batch, and like I said, I enjoy the Bad Batch, but I would have rather seen an Ahsoka Tano show. That
and they're
for
doing
me,
one,
huh?
and they're going to do one.
Yeah, they're doing a live action show, right?
Yeah,
But like, I would have been happy to see a an Ahsoka Tano for filling in the space between the Empire
oh, okay,
taking over and uh, and the the original Star Wars movie. I would have preferred to see her rather than this kind of the Bad Batch is, like I say, it's interesting. It's the Dirty Dozen, Suicide Squad, you know, uh, Force 10 from Navarone,
yeah,
kind of thing. But yeah, I'm actually, it, yeah, I don't, it's not, it's sort of like a really good, for me, it's sort of like a really good cup of tea, but I prefer coffee, but I can enjoy the tea.
yeah. See, for me, we're in an age of event series, and we're getting an old '80s series where
Yeah.
it's the A Team. It's every week it's something new. It's a different story, and it's like, no, we're in an era where you have a story to tell. You're not just creating TV shows to create TV shows, and that's what this feels like to me. When you're 3 episodes technically in, and the second and third one feel like filler episodes. Oh, we
Mm.
went to visited an old friend and had to help them, but you didn't move the main story along any. The second episode's kind of the same, and then this week's episode was the same thing. It's like, oh, we had a malfunction. These are the kind of things that long running series do to save money. They're like bottle episodes.
Mm.
And it's an animated series, so they don't need a bottle episode. And I believe, aren't all the voices done by the same person, or most of them?
All the main characters are D.
Baker.
Bradley Baker.
Yes.
Yeah. Omega is oh shoot, now Michelle, darn it, I should know her name. Um there we go. He's looking it up, and it is Michelle. So Michelle Ong. Um
Okay.
so
Tell me that the Bad Batch isn't pretty much the A Team, with Omega being the girl reporter that hangs out with them.
although we don't have a pilot per se. You've got Hunter is sort of Hannibal in that he's the leader.
Wrecker's BA.
Definitely Wrecker is BA. Um, uh, but like Tech and Echo are almost both Mad Dog Murdoch.
Yeah. And they don't really have face.
Yeah, so I suppose Omega could be Faith.
Yeah, but there really isn't a need for a con man on this team. But
well, yeah, actually, I would argue that there is, because shooting their way out of every problem is, it would be nice if they had a guy who, well, these guys are still going around in their clone trooper armor, and it's like, I know they didn't in the second episode all the time, but they're
right.
still like constantly wearing their battle stuff, and that's character design situations, and
Yeah.
the fact that we actually don't know. You were talking about the big picture. Even after the first episode, I'm not sure what the big story is.
Yeah. I mean, we got Crosshair, who's turning into a really bad guy, and they're going to try to redeem him because they're going to undo his chip because they've given him the out. But I mean, he's off killing innocents and committing war crimes.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Oh, and if it does turn out that she's force sensitive and they've figured out how to give the force to clones, which is something they've been trying and failed so far, then that would be a huge thing. And maybe it leads to somebody like Starkiller or something like that. But overall, we really don't see the big story going on yet.
Yeah. And actually, I mean, if they start giving, if they made clones force sensitive, then again, it pushes back the timeline for people like Han Solo going, the Force.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much hoping that all that Force stuff should be definitely on the fringes, outside the outer rim kind of thing. Because when is Kenobi due, by the way?
It's filming now, so probably
2022 or 23.
Yeah, early 2022, I would think.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that Omega could be, and we see a little bit of it in that she kind of, when Crosshairs is shooting at them, she picks up a gun and hits him, basically blows the gun out of it, and she'd never shot before.
Right.
Then later on in the third episode, we see Hunter is hunting, gets knocked out, and then she starts tracking. Maybe she's a little bit like Taskmaster and has the ability to learn from watching other people. Maybe that's the ability she has.
Yeah, or even a almost like Animal Man. If there's a certain animal within a certain distance, or at least that's the way it used to be, then he could pick up those abilities. And so maybe maybe they have to be in proximity for her
I
to
can see that.
tap into the. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, my main problem is that right now it just feels like a normal everyday TV series, another season of the Clone Wars, and doesn't feel like it belongs in the drop at midnight on Friday slot that's now become associated with these big event series.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe
I
it's
see
my
what you're saying.
expectation. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't dislike the show, and I'm going to keep watching it, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere yet.
Yeah.
But I can make it through 28 minutes of that, and I couldn't through Jupiter's Legacy. So
Yeah. But yeah, I obviously like it more than you do, but I can see some of what you're getting at. But yeah, I do hope we start finding a direction, like,
yeah,
getting a sense of their goal, other than this episode established they want to get Crosshair back, kind of idea, because Hunter's upset they left somebody behind.
oh yeah,
But
and they're obviously setting up the whole thing with Wrecker and his chip. But it may be that Wrecker and his chip is going to be a point where they can then figure out if text scanner will work, and that's what and then we can deactivate the chip. Let's go get Crosshair back. So that could be where that whole path is going.
and this is pure speculation, but I wonder if they're going to eventually, figure out a way to nullify the chip, and then find out that no, Crosshair was perfectly okay with, like that. It isn't just the chip.
Yeah, it's not a chip. He's a dick.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how they go with it. But I see what
Yeah.
you're saying about being in that Friday, late Thursday, early Friday slot seems a little weird.
Yeah.
In
Yeah. I
comparison
mean,
to the other stuff.
yeah, and it's one thing if they were just filling it, but the fact that when they're moving Loki to Wednesdays because of it,
Yeah, so they could move, because originally they were talking Loki in July.
No, June, but it was going to be on
No.
Fridays.
No. They
You
were
only moved it
talking.
by 2 days.
No. This is way back when they were
Oh,
first talking about it. They were talking July, so it makes sense that this way they can run the full 14 episodes and start Loki earlier.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they could have put this out on Wednesdays and just not put anything out on Fridays for a few weeks and just left Friday, So the expectations for Bad Batch aren't being lived up to, or they were set too high for what the show seems to be at this point.
For you.
If somebody walks in with 4 pizza boxes, and 3 of them have pizza in it, and the 4th one has napkins, aren't you a little disappointed? Yeah, sure, you need the napkins and plates and stuff, but if you see 4 pizza boxes, you're thinking 4 pizzas, not 3 pizzas and a utensil set. Yeah.
I can only eat 3 pizzas.
All right. Let's move on to our third topic of the night.
An even more speculative topic.
Well, no, I mean, we know that a couple years ago we had back-to-back December or holiday seasons with the return of the big star-studded murder mystery, which is something I'm a huge fan of. I remember watching the original Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile way back in the 70s.
Yeah.
The first novels I read as a kid for just entertainment were Agatha Christie novels.
Really?
Yeah. 8, 9 years old, I'm reading Agatha Christie. And I've always, I consider myself a mystery writer over anything else. No matter what genre I write, there is a mystery at the heart of it.
Yes.
So
the mystery is, why are we reading them, huh? I apologize. Dan is quite a good.
I'm gonna get a rim shot machine just for Paul, but
that one you just really set me up on.
I know. And when I do that, I have to just let you have it. Just
But no, I understand. Mysteries were one of the first things that I was reading, and I did. I went through the Hardy Boys and Encyclopedia Brown as I was reading Sherlock Holmes.
Oh yeah, Sherlock Holmes, Nero Wolfe. I mean, my Lucius Fogg series of novels is based on the conceit of Nero Wolfe, of the brilliant guy who never leaves his home, and the detective leg man. I use that format where just about every modern day detective series is based off of one of the basic tropes: the Sherlock Holmes, the Sam Spade, the Nero Wolfe, or the Miss Marple. I mean, those are your four basics, or your police detective one.
Yeah,
and
your
so
McBain.
Yeah, so you get a variation of those. Jake and the Fat Man was Nero Wolfe.
Yeah.
Down the line, there's so many Sam Spades. There's so many Sherlock Holmes. So it's that format, and so I've always been a huge mystery fan. So when Murder on the Orient Express came out with Kenneth Branagh as Hercule Poirot and him directing it, and I'm a huge Kenneth Branagh fan anyway.
Yes.
But then you had Daisy Ridley and Leslie Odom and Willem Dafoe, and you just go down that list. Judi Dench, Michelle Pfeiffer, Olivia Colman. It's this huge Johnny Depp. Just when Johnny Depp decides just to jump into a movie, and he's not playing anybody that weird. That's awesome. So I love that. And then a year later, Rian Johnson comes out with Knives Out. Yeah. And again, you have this star-studded cast with Daniel Craig, Jamie Lee Curtis, Don Johnson, Michael Shannon, Chris Evans, Christopher Plummer. It's such an amazing movie, and it's him doing an homage to the old Agatha Christie movies. I mean, Rian Johnson says it. He is.
Yeah, you watch Knives Out, and if you haven't read up on it or heard much about it ahead of time, you're like, what is this adapted from?
Yeah,
it's got that sense to it where you're like, and then it turns out it's from a Harlan Toomby novel.
There. And then you've got all these little nods. I mean, so much of the house is decorated from other murder mysteries.
Right.
They borrowed stuff. There's a painting in the house of Christopher Plummer that changes over the course of the movie to reflect the mood of the character, even though he's dead. I mean, it's just, and even the conceit of the woman who can't lie, that throws up when she tries to lie.
Yeah.
It is such a clever movie that I got excited. I'm like, because then sequels were in the talks. There's going to be a sequel to Knives Out. And, Kenneth Branagh's already filming Death on the Nile. And it's like, we're going to get these on a regular basis. That's going to be like the new Christmas thing. You get the new murder mystery. And we've had to put the brakes on that.
Sure.
But now we've got Netflix stepping up and basically bringing the dump truck full of money and dropping it off at Rian Johnson, Daniel Craig, and their producing partner's house, dropping $450 million just for the rights to the second and third Knives Out movies.
Yeah.
The Untitled Benoit Blanc films.
Yes.
Well,
by the way, I just have to go back because I just rewatched Knives Out today.
Okay.
And that moment where he's Daniel Craig is all, so I hear that you can't that it makes you physically ill to be and then she lies about something and throws up, and he's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't think it was literal."
Yes.
Like,
What?
he was just thinking, "Oh no, she gets like, acts sick to her stomach." Oh no, as Chris Evans learns to his chagrin.
Yep. Uh, by the way, if you're if you've watched the movie and don't get why Daniel Craig sounds like Foghorn Leghorn, there is an actual historian who, and I'd have to look it up again, but he's basing the voice, the accent on this actual historian that lives down in the part of Louisiana and stuff. And you watch a clip of this guy because he would show up like on Ken Burn documentary and stuff like that, and it's exact. I mean, it is perfect. So it's not that he's doing this silly accent; he is doing somebody's exact voice, and
Yeah.
it's amazing.
I think his last name is Shepley, the historian.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, but
It's been a while since I looked that up, but
and
yeah,
yeah, so
but
he's doing a real accent.
yeah.
So
But my thing with the Knives Out is that we're getting the casting for the second film now. We've got Dave Bautista, which should be interesting. I think he's a very underrated comedic actor. Ed Norton is going to be in it. Janelle Monáe, the actress, singer, songwriter, model, I mean, super talented. And Catherine Hahn, Agatha all along. Those are the first four members cast along with Daniel Craig. And I'm getting excited about this because we're going to get another Knives Out, another Benoit Blanc mystery. But are we going to get it in the theater or is it going to be on Netflix? I want this in the theater. I want to go see these. I want the event of going into a movie theater. And if this Netflix deal means that it's not going to do that, then I'm not happy about that. I want the big event.
yeah.
I mean, right now, I'm not even sure when we're going to get Death on the Nile, which is already finished and in the can, but they keep pushing it back because of Army Hammer. I mean, sure, they pushed it back because of the pandemic, but because of the negative publicity that Army Hammer is getting, and you can't just reshoot like they did with Kevin Spacey and Christopher Plummer in that, All the Money in the World, or whatever the name of that movie was.
Right.
Because you can't do that, because then you've got to get Gal Gadot and Letitia Wright and all these big named actors back to reshoot scenes to replace Army Hammer.
Yeah.
So I am hoping that Disney will just go, I think it's Disney who has the rights to it, but whoever has the rights to it, I'm hoping they're just going to go, we're just going to put it out there. We're going to ask the media, look, Letitia Wright doesn't know anything about Army Hammer's personal life. I'm assuming he didn't try to eat her while on set. So let's not have that conversation. Let's focus on the movie. We have this entire cast and crew and all these people that worked their asses off to make a good movie. It shouldn't be ruined because one actor suddenly has this horrible backstory. You're right. It's Shelby Foote. Good call. Yeah.
Oh, well, I looked it up.
Yeah.
You were talking, so I thought, well, I can either listen.
And you've never done that before.
What? Exactly.
Yeah.
It is always awkward at this point where, although, the Army Hammer stuff is just weird, but it's like the same thing with, like, I'm a big Buffy fan. I'm less of a Joss Whedon fan than I used to be.
Right.
But it's when you're then looking like, oh, should I not watch Buffy on on Netflix or Hulu or where Amazon or wherever the heck it is now,
Yeah.
then all the actors and writers and stuff who would get residuals,
Uh-huh.
which
It's
pour one
like,
out for residuals, by the way.
yeah.
I noticed that the bar is gone back at in Studio City. Its
Mm.
residuals is gone now.
It's kind of like Unusual Suspects or The
Yeah.
Usual Suspects.
Yeah.
Are we not supposed to watch it now because both Kevin Smith and Bryan Singer have been bad boys?
Spacey.
Kevin Spacey
Yeah,
and
you did
Bryan
say
Singer have
that.
been bad boys.
Didn't you?
Who?
Yeah. You said Kevin Smith.
Oh, no, very different.
Yes.
Kevin Spacey and Bryan Singer have been bad boys, but Gabriel Byrne wasn't bad. Stephen Baldwin,
Yeah.
Kevin Pollak.
Well, and it really at that point, because they're in a slightly different position because they're reruns,
Yeah.
or rewatches or whatever.
Yeah.
I can understand how especially if it's Disney that's got the rights, there are kind of like, they're trying to figure, they're probably trying to figure a way to spin it. So
Simple. Don't put Armie Hammer on the press tour. Don't hire Armie Hammer again. Leave his name off of the top billing. Just put him in the credits.
Yeah.
And put the damn movie out.
Yeah.
Although
he may have contractual billing stuff, but yeah, you work around it, and you have some Disney representatives go on chat shows and go, well, it's not fair for everybody else to pay the price for him.
Yeah. And when it comes to the press tour and stuff, simply make it clear, look, we're talking about this movie. You want to ask the actors and stuff about themselves. You want to ask about the movie, that's fine. But they're not going to answer questions about Armie Hammer. That is his personal information stuff. None of these people know anything about that. Yeah. So,
and if they did, they could have already made a statement by now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's my thing, is that we had this beautiful opening of getting these kind of movies regularly, and now we have one being delayed. I think it's supposed to come out in February, but will it still come out in February? I love the idea of it coming out right before the holidays or during the holidays. And then Knives Out, will they be in the theaters at all, or is it just a Netflix thing? Because Netflix is horrible at promoting their own movies.
See, I would not be surprised if that is a move by Netflix to be able to have shows, their movies air in the theaters to begin with, like a move for them to have theatrical distribution, and then they've got the exclusive rights when it goes.
And if that is what they're doing, thank you. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
As long as I get the chance to see that in the theater, because there's some movies you want to see in the theater. Yeah. I don't miss the fact I didn't see Mortal Kombat in the theater. I'm fine with having seen it on my TV.
Yeah, see, and I'm the opposite, although maybe not Mortal Kombat is the way, but I can watch a non-action, non-sci-fi, non-fantasy movie.
Yeah.
A mystery I'm perfectly happy to watch on my 50-inch TV.
Normally I am too, but with these big star-studded ones, there's something about being on the big screen. The way Kenneth Branagh filmed Murder on the Orient Express was so beautiful and so breathtaking. The scenery of him, just all that they did, that you lose something in that. The epic grandeur of it. Normally, yeah, I'm the same way. And the only things I go to the theater with are your big superhero movies or your big action movies. But there's something about these murder mysteries, and also being in the theater with a live audience when the reveals are made is so much fun. You
I
know,
see.
like that.
I'm a theatrical. I'm a cinematic philistine. Like I don't want to hear. Like I don't want to hear the other people going like, "Oh, did you see?" Because then I miss the next line.
And again, that's why I watch things multiple times.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do
But
like that experience. Like
yeah,
in Knives Out, the first time she tells a lie and we see the reaction, the audience reaction to it made it even better
yeah.
because
See, but the first
everybody
time
was surprised.
I get you, I get you. But see, for me, I first time I saw Knives Out was on TV,
Uh-huh.
on a streaming service, and so I can't even, to me that's just it's abstract because I didn't see it. I don't go to the movies that often though, so that's
Yeah.
I mean that's part of it. Um, I understand that some people are much more connected to the theatrical experience than I am. And
It was
that's not a criticism
right.
unless it's of me. Um,
Oh, I
but
don't think that's
yeah,
a criticism of anybody. I think, and I'm with you most of the time in the sense that there's a lot of shows I won't go to the theater for because I don't think it's necessary.
yeah,
But just the experience I had with both those movies,
yeah,
both Murder on the Orient Express, Murder on the Orient Express, and with Knives Out, was so much more fun in the theater. And just with Murder on the Orient Express, it was just how beautiful the film was. You
it
know,
was very lush.
yeah. And he filmed it on these big cameras, and they were literally the only ones left in existence. He had to get all of the ones just
Yeah,
to film this
yeah,
thing. And Braun is such a great filmmaker. It's part of what I miss from the current Thor movies. What I liked about the first Thor movie was the big epic scale that Kenneth Branagh brought to it. Like when
mhm,
we first pan in on Asgard and we get that little flip thing going on, and then pan into the city and get a whole layout of what Asgard looks like. We really don't get much of that in the later films. Dark World just didn't have that grand scope, and that wasn't the story that Taika Waititi was telling.
right, right.
You know,
So
but to me, that's more of what Thor is supposed to be. If you were asking me the best Thor movie, or I thought Ragnarok was a lot of fun, I enjoyed the hell out of it. But to me, a Thor movie is the first one.
I hear you. I hear you. I actually think I like Ragnarok better because I did, and I think it's partly the familiarity with the character for me is the whole, oh, he's not with the compression of he's not worthy, he gets tossed out, he has to prove his worth thing. It just it felt very um familiar to me.
Hmm.
So yes, I believe I'm there with you on the epic scope. I think they did a great job with Asgard. Um, I there's a certain part of me that's like, really, Odin, you couldn't get through to him in however many thousand years you've had. You've never gone like, hey, stop being a cocky SOB. Um,
Yeah.
but
See, yeah, Andrew's on the same side as me. Ragnarok is a great fun film, but it never felt like a Thor movie. And yeah, if you want to just compare movie to movie, Ragnarok is more fun, is a bigger adventure, but the first Thor movie was the Stanley, Jack Kirby, the Walt Simonson. That's Thor to me.
I get you. I get you.
So
I'm not arguing. I'm just going by which I liked more.
yeah.
Um, but which I perhaps I should say enjoyed more. Although
Mhm.
I was I think the one person in the movie theater was like as I'm watching the end going like, hey, that's Walt, because Walt and Weezy were at the
Oh yeah.
big dinner. Although
I
I
didn't
didn't
pick
really
out
get to
I didn't pick out Wheezy, but I saw Walt immediately.
yeah, Well, that was she was in it, but she never got a close up like he did.
Yeah.
But she, because I was talking to Walter later, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we were both there." And since then, I watched it, and I'm kind of like, "Oh, there," when one of the far shots. But
Yeah. We got
yeah,
Walt, we got Straczynski, and we got Stan Lee.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
So, but I am a huge Branagh fan.
Yeah.
I need my Branaghs as big as I can get them.
One of my favorite movies of all time is the movie Dead Again, with his Kenneth
Interesting.
Branagh and Emma Thompson, Andy Garcia.
Yep.
And to me, that is just brilliant. And the twists in it is just so good.
Yep.
And it's got Wayne Knight and Derek Jacobi. And I'm in for any movie with Derek Jacobi.
Yep. Yep. I was
So,
watching a documentary not long ago. I'm like, that narrator sounds familiar. And it was Derek Jacobi, but it's like a recently done thing, and his tone has changed a little as he's gotten older. Um, but I dearly loved the Much Ado About Nothing with Branagh and Thompson.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I just I love that movie so much.
Andrew reminds me that Robin Williams was in Dead Again as well.
Yeah, I have not seen that one in probably 20 years. So when I was like 5.
I convinced my brother and his friend to watch it, but they were high when they watched it. And
Hmm.
they got all the way through it and went, wait, what? And they rewound it because it was on VHS at the time
Yeah.
and watched it the entire time again, just trying to understand. So, but
Yeah.
Jacobi shows up in Murder on the Orient Express.
Yes, I realize that. I'm like you. It's like he showed up in the Underworld movies, and I was like, whoa. I enjoyed them to begin with, but that just kicked it up a notch.
He played the
Although it
master
may
in
have been
Doctor Who.
it may have been his summer cottage. Like he like, oh, I like a summer cottage, so I'll do the Underworld movies. I remember an actress, I can't remember, Carrie something in Witchboard. She's like Witchboard 2 or Witchboard 3, and she was describing it as oh yeah, I bought my mom a car with that one.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't care. I'm just, and I think even the great ones.
And it says Jacobi has pretty much shown up in Branagh movies ever since Henry V. My first time seeing Derek Jacobi was as Hamlet with Patrick Stewart as his uncle, Claudius, which brilliant performance on both parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's a nice behind. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say 3 minutes.
A nice behind the scenes thing from Murder on the Orient Express is Derek Jacobi talking about how he got the role, which was pretty much Kenneth Branagh poking his head. He was doing a play, poking his head in afterwards, went, I'm doing a new movie. When do you need me there?
Nice. Very nice. So, yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to be wrapping this up. We're going to try to keep to the 90-minute mark. So join me this week. I will be doing the Dan Wickline Show over on the Comic Book Shopping Experience, or at _EXP1 on Instagram. You can find me there at 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock Eastern, Tuesday and Wednesday. On Thursday, the show is at 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern. I'm also doing the in shops this week with Kyle. We do that at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Experience. Next Sunday, we'll be doing Pop Go the Writers, but Paul will have the night off, and it'll be Natasha and I again talking about season 2 of Mannix. Paul, what do you got going for the week besides Sunday night off?
Actually, I'm starting a new job. I'm going back to work in a comic shop in addition to my writing. So I'm looking forward to catching up on more of what's coming out as it comes out,
Mhm.
and hopefully being more educated when we talk about that stuff. And
Which shop?
Pardon?
Which shop are you going back to work with?
I'm going back to work at Comic City in the Detroit area. They've got 4 locations, and you can find them at comiccity.com.
ComicCity.com. What we should do is for my other show, get you once a week to just film a little video on your phone doing Paul's pick of the week for books coming out. You could send it to me on Tuesday and we can run it Tuesday night.
I will check with the owners and see what they think.
Uh-huh. And I will check
Because
with
there's
them.
there's nothing you want more than your new job going like, have you been broadcasting through this from the store? Yeah. We don't want that. And you need to check
With Kyle, make sure it's okay with him. But
Yep.
anytime we can fill stuff, extra filler for the show is always good. Like I brought on Dave Francini from Zenoscope, and he and I talked for a half hour one night just about all the upcoming Zenoscope stuff. And Kyle was happy as hell about that because he got to go sit down and relax for a half hour.
Gotcha.
So,
all right. Well, good luck with all your new episodes. I'm going to miss you next week.
but when you come back, we'll have MODOK to talk about.
Woo!
That does look fun.
Or I guess that's woo!
It does look fun. So
It does. It does.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Andrew. We'll get you back on the show soon when Loki rolls on. And everybody have a great night and a great week. I'll see you on the experience. Paul will see you at Comic City.
And back here in 2 weeks.
That's right. And Paul will be back in 2 weeks. And remember to join us for next Pop Go the Writers, our classic TV night with Mannix. Good night, everybody.